What's up, warriors? Today I'm going to dive right in. You read that right. Fearlessness is a fallacy. So if you have ever been to a self-defense class, or if you work with a coach and they really kind of push this idea of you're fearless onto you, then run the other way. And I say that because we live in this age of really, really adoring DC and Marvel films and superheroes. And I love that stuff too. But I really want to drive a point here about humanizing ourselves, humanizing our feelings. And part of that is it's almost like if you have fearlessness, you don't feel a whole lot, right? You just conquer every mountain and rush through every brick wall out there. But I would differ to say that when you have so much at stake, when you love so many people and you are scared shitless and you still take strides forward, that's what courageousness is. It's taking your personal pain and turning it into power. And I think as we're starting off the new year and, people feel good and positive, and let's talk about how do we handle and how do we stay resilient when we're not crushing it every second of the day, right? And maybe you have some big goals and there's that forward swing momentum that happens in January, but how can you create a sustainable burn is what I really want to talk about today. And I just want to come here and be candid and real in the sense that, look, I'm a warrior. And just because I'm a warrior doesn't mean that I don't feel. And this is an important lesson that I've had to learn for a really long time and do work around is that I used to, growing up, I was always taught to be excellent at everything and to just be tough. And that somehow being tough means that's what strength is. And what I learned a lot in 2023 is that my ability to feel and to love and to feel at every second of the day and to be open about it and tell people when I'm feeling great and when I'm not feeling great is one of my greatest strengths. And so it is not about like muscles and being the strongest person in the room. It's about allowing yourself to be vulnerable. And I thought about this concept about fearlessness a lot because we still live in a pandemic. We live in a time where there's such horrors and unimaginable tragedies going on in the world, specifically genocide, right? For the people in Gaza. And so if you have this feeling in the pit of your stomach of fear, that is valid. And I don't want to push that away. And instead, what I'm trying to say is we have to be able to convert these things where we feel powerless and really make room and space to be able to talk about it in a healthy way and to inch forward and to build resilience, because in the long game, that's what's going to help us, and that's what's going to help us remain strong for each other, because that's how we look out for one another in community, right? So whether that's psychological safety or physical safety, I think that there's a lot of power in saying, I'm terrified. I don't know what's going to happen. And what makes me think about this, y'all, is the reason why I started my company was because of fear. Right? I was surrounded at a time when anti-Asian hate crimes were so high. We had the Atlanta spa shootings. You had Christina Yuna Lee, who passed, who was probably 2 years younger than I, but that could have been me. And then I started working with clients in the community whose parents, grandparents were victims, right? Verbally harassed or physically harassed. And so surrendering for me really and taking leadership was really saying out loud. I remember this specifically because I was being interviewed by a great woman from the Feisty News. And I remember she's like, wow, you're being really bold and courageous talking about anti-Asian hate. And so I did what I have been always programmed to do was just stuff it in and to try to be this pillar of strength for the community and a representative and to speak on our behalf, because it was hurting me inside that so many of us felt voiceless, and we just felt like the world didn't hear our cries, right? And so there was a moment in that interview where I just lost it. And I said, you know what? I'm not even trying to front it anymore. I don't want to die. And I don't want to die, and I don't want to get shot in front of my kids. And that was the moment that I allowed myself to really, really embrace what my fear was, is leaving this earth without watching my kids grow up, leaving this earth without making an impact in the world, and showing other women that they too are strong and that they could overcome trauma and to heal, and that we could collectively heal together. And so being tough is not about being that bad bitch that walks in all the time, that's like always got it together, that's always organized, that's always, and it's important for me that to relay that to you, because for all of you that have given me so much love and support the last couple of years, your means of encouragement to me is like, you're crushing it, you're killing it, and thank you for that. But I don't always feel moment to moment that I'm crushing it, right? There is always that internal work of, I could be doing more. Can I serve in the way that I want to? Can I make the impact that I want to? I don't want to let anybody down. And sometimes it keeps me up at night because I make promises and I keep my word, right? And so I'm always mindful of, I want to make sure that I'm delivering this in a way that's heartfelt. And I just keep going. And that's different from continually grinding and trying to come out on top. Like, I want to talk about, teaching my children what to do when you're not winning, and how you can really learn a lot from failing and from losing, right? And so, to give you an example, it's like, yes, I'm a global speaker, spoken in a lot of different global stages, traveled all over the world. But does my ego hurt? And do I get butthurt if I apply for 24 speaking gigs and nobody replies? Absolutely. And I got support and had someone email 500 leads of a company, right? Representatives, and be like, yes, like people are going to like see my vision and love it too. I got 10 no's, right? And then the rest, I just got ghosted, or they haven't replied yet, right? And there would be a version of me 2 years ago that would be so devastated by that and personalize that so much and be like, well, what's wrong with me, right? Like, what's the meaning of life and all of that? But because I've developed a practice around, the woman warrior spirit, and this is what I teach in the woman warrior uprising around the woman warrior archetype and what are the characteristics that you need to have. It's not that these things don't sting, y'all. It's that my ability to be agile and mobile, even after getting wounded, my capacity for that is so much larger. And so that's what I want for you. So there's two very powerful questions that I have learned to ask myself to help ground myself. And it's been really hard to not feel guilty and shameful. And I want to be very transparent about that, is that even though I practice what I preach and I ask myself these questions every day, shame, right? Cultural shame around success, or, never having enough and never being enough is, it's always lingering. It's always trying to poison my mind. And so, two questions that I ask myself daily are: number one, how do I need, hey, Anne, how's it going, Queen? Um, the first question that I ask myself every day now is, how do I need to show up for myself today? I'm going to repeat that. How do I need to show up for myself today? And so for the last 4 weeks straight, I have literally been, my one of my goals this year is to be the healthiest and be the strongest, right? And so that means, okay, well, I'm going to have to increase my weight training days and my workouts, right? And so I committed to 4 weeks of working out at least 4 times a week. And so 4 times in the last 4 weeks, doing 4 HIIT workouts a week, while trying to eat enough protein, right? And anyone that's tried to like lose weight or gain muscle knows that's hard. Like, and after a while, you get kind of sick of eating chicken breasts, right? And so you're trying to do all the things and you're trying to drink the water. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna concentrate on working out and just showing up. That's what I need to do for myself. And then I got to drink the water, and then I got to allow time for rest. But, the other day, and I finally started feeling stronger in the workouts. Like, yes, I'm upping the weight. But the other day, I asked myself this question, like, how do I need to show up for myself today? And it's like, you know what? You got to surrender today, sis. Like, you gotta sleep, you gotta rest, you gotta nap. I never, like to nap and to not move your body today as much. And I have this extreme personality that tends to beat myself up. So I was like, okay, I drank the water, I slept, I've been doing the workouts, but it's that like inner critic that the biggest enemy for me is my mind. And so it just like psychologically, now that I've lost scale, and if the weight goes up slightly, which when you're trying to build muscle, that happens. Oh my gosh, like my brain and scarcity mentality is like, I need to starve myself because I'm gaining weight, right? And so that's the indication to me. It's like, I really got to nurture my mindset because that's a very extreme. Hello, internet. Thank you for breaking down. Um, so, psychologically, I have to embrace like, okay, well, it's going to go up a little bit, but you just keep doing what you're going to do. So that's the first question I ask myself. And the second question I ask myself is, how can I be more self-compassionate today? Okay. And the fact that these two questions are rooted in for me is very powerful, because as someone who grew up as a nurturer and taking care of my family and so many people in my life growing up, I used to feel guilty around even saying what I wanted, even if it meant disagreeing with people. But I didn't want to make waves. I didn't want people not to like me. So I would just stuff it inside and I would just hold these feelings inside. And so I have come to a peaceful place of asking these questions centered around me. And it doesn't mean I'm selfish, right? That I'm a horrible mom or that I'm a horrible spouse or I'm a horrible friend. These questions are central to me. I am the headquarters, I am the temple. And I've made peace with that. And so even on days where I'm struggling and I just honor myself, because I know that I show up for other people and I show up for my community, right? It's been the greatest exercise for me to ask myself these questions, because it brings the focus back to me. And I can say that without feeling like an a-hole, right? Because I know that when I am energized and I am rested, I am present for the people in my life and I can listen to them wholeheartedly. So that's the takeaways that I want to give you today, is that go towards the fear. Don't go away, and humanize your emotions, right? If you're sad, if you're in mourning, if you are angry, those are the very things that are going to propel you. So every warrior gets wounded, loses their armor. But what matters is that they stand up, right? Or they have another sister, another warrior that comes along and helps lift them up, right? To get them to safety. And so that's the movement we're creating here with the Woman Warrior Uprising. And again, the two questions I said that I ask myself every day to create sustainable empowerment is, number one is, how do I need to show up for myself today? It's an inventory checkup. What do I need? Right? And so for me, as extroverted as I am, a lot of times it's, I really need to be by myself today. I just need 2 hours for myself. And that's okay. That doesn't mean I do not love my kids. It's just, I need that time and space to fill my cup. And second question that you got to ask yourself is, how can I show myself self-compassion today? Right? And so for me, that has been, instead of focusing on the things that I have not achieved, right? Like, oh gosh, I'm so far behind and I'm not there where I need to be. See, that's toxic language already. Like, I need to, I should, the needs, the shoulds. So I'm really working on removing that language around need and should, because it reminds me of my rebellious nature of authority figures, right? And not being enough. So I shift that language. So it's really like, how can I exercise self-compassion today, right? So if there's something I don't want to do, probably not going to do it if it doesn't light me up, okay? So if any of this is striking a chord with you, definitely throw some comments. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. And I'm inviting you into the Women Warrior Uprising community. Okay, hit subscribe in the comments, and this is where you'll get the dosages of my monthly newsletter and access, and to be in the know when we have trainings that are self-paced and live master classes. And I go above and beyond, and I do more in the community. I show up here on social media, but when you're in the Women Warrior Uprising community, that's where I really get to the heart of a woman warrior. So subscribe and follow me for more strategies on empowering yourself.